Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. It's time to break the glass. Now, I appreciate everybody's ideas of precautions, some of which were very reasonable and some weren't and wouldn't have been very successful anyway. But thanks for the thoughts. At the end of the day, breaking glass could be considered a bit dangerous. Well, yes and no. You know, so falling off a motorbike at 100 miles an hour is dangerous. This has limitations. I'm doing it in the glass bowl simply because all the pieces of glass will end up hopefully in the glass bowl and therefore can't dig into anything and be left behind. They can just be emptied into some newspaper and put in the dustbin. So that's the idea of the glass bowl, yeah? If I did it loose on the worktop, some could go down the back, some could go in the curtain. And the only precaution I'm taking, I wear glasses. I haven't got any safety goggles, but I have a pair of glasses on. And I'm putting the gloves on because I'm hoping this breaks into big pieces, which I will then have to handle. I'm hoping it doesn't shatter. It shouldn't do, it's not that type of glass. And all I'm going to do is put it up against there so that it's got a firm base and hit it, and we'll see what happens. Nothing. I'll end up breaking my bowl. This is an incredibly strong piece of glass. I'm going to have to turn it over slightly sideways and hit it there. Yes, it did shatter at the point of impact, so there are some shards of glass in the media. The media is coming out. I can see one piece of glass on that leaf. That can be brushed off because I've got the gloves on. So the plant has ended up okay. And most of the glass is now in the bowl. I'm just looking to see. Yeah, the only shards of glass are here, which is where the impact was. I've got gloves on, so this is the reason I put the gloves on, because I knew I'd be handling things. What I need is something sharp, so that I can just, oh, I hate gloves, but in this case it is a necessity. Something sharp so that I can lever this. Oh, it's just not going to work. Anything, this is stronger. I just want to tease this area here so that the bits of media that have got the pieces of glass in out of the root ball. Quite honestly, this is doing not a bad job of breaking the root ball up anyway. I'm going to try and get most of this media out, simply because it's apparently, according to my son, this has been in here 5 years, so this media is incredibly old. So I'd like to remove it so that we can replace it with some decent stuff. And my idea is to not handle it. My idea is to do what I'm doing here, tease most of the media out and separate the roots, and then pour new media in afterwards. So I haven't touched anything. So I haven't got, excuse me, I haven't got any chances of getting glass in my hands. Tiny little shards, because anybody who's worked with where broken glass has been, those little shards dig right in. Not nice at all. Now the centre is quite hollow, so most of the roots were round the outside of the glass. There's a couple of bits stuck, a couple of roots broken off here. See if we can get them out. Oh, that's not actually broken off, it's just sticking upwards. But yeah, I think this root system will recover quite quickly. There are some growing tips in amongst it, like, hang on, let's turn this round. So you've got new roots growing here. This is a new one. This is a new one. So there is some active root growth. There's also a lot of old tired roots, which I will have a go at trimming off. But that is most of the old media off now. Right, I am now going to take my gloves off because I need to use my scissors, or glove. We'll just take one off because I need to get these really old tired roots out of the way. So that there's room for the new ones, basically. Most of these are, as you would expect, on the oldest part of the stem, which is down the base, obviously. But by removing these older roots, it leaves room for newer ones. But it's quite honestly, it's going to be difficult to cut these old roots off because they're all so joined up. They're all stuck to each other where they've been in a confined space. So there's not a huge amount I can do to get rid of them. Any dead ends I can take off. And any broken ones. I know there's going to be some of you thinking, you didn't try and get it out without breaking the glass. Well, yes I did it in the kitchen. And it wouldn't budge. As expected, that's exactly what I expected was it to be almost impossible, because it wasn't so much stuck to the glass, it was all stuck to each other. Right, I reckon that'll do. And then hopefully we will get new growth. I mean, we do have, these are roots that have grown, oh, this one's broken, that's a shame. These are roots that have grown outside, where the plant has lifted so far up that the roots were coming out above the glass, above the jar. Right, I'm going to leave it at that. Don't forget, this is the first repot it's had for a very, very long time, and it's going to go from bark into bark, so there is no direct shock. Virtually all of the media is out. I can still get a few more bits out, I think. No, they're quite attached. There's one piece down here I can pull down. A few pieces there. But the amount that's left is minimal, which is good because obviously it's very old. It was good bark. I think it came from me. So that's the root system we've got. Now this is going to have to go in a large pot because I want it upright. So the roots are going to end up sideways on. Yeah, I want this plant upright from now on. And I've just spotted down in there, we've got mealybugs. Sorry, I'm having trouble manoeuvring this because of the gloves. Down in that leaf joint there are mealybugs. Turn the plant round slightly so you can see down in there. And where are they? On the new leaf, well, at the base of the new leaf. So I will get cotton wool bud and some alcohol, and we'll give that area a clean. And put that to one side for now. Get this glove off. And then we've got to very carefully dispose of the contents in here. It did actually break in a lot of large pieces, but there are also small pieces and shards. So that will go wrapped up in newspaper and then put inside a bag, tied, and then it can go in the dustbin like that. And that will go in the landfill dustbin where they don't play around with it. It just ends up in landfill. If it was put in recycling, you can't recycle any of this, and the recycling bin, the stuff is actually handled to actually separate it out, plastic, glass, all those things like that. So this will just go in the landfill bin where it will get disposed of. Right, so job done, no accidents, no incidents, we're not leaking anywhere, which is good stuff. And we've got a plant out with a reasonable root system that will now hopefully engage with some new media. So let's get cleared up and then we'll get this in a pot. I'll be back. Okay, by hook or by crook, this is going in this pot and it's going to be upright. And the only way I'm going to achieve that is to remove half of this lower section of roots. And although this is going to look brutal, remember that Phalaenopsis roots branch, and they will branch due to damage. And this is damage. Should have got my tray out, shouldn't I? Wouldn't have made so much mess. So that's a fair bit of root, including some new root tips, but there's more here. Are we getting there? Yes. Now the plant is going to be right up against the edge of the pot, but all new roots will now go down in the media with any luck, because the base of the plant will be sitting on the top of the media. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy that it's going to go in where it's wanted, and better go and get some bark, I suppose. Made a mess now, haven't I? Right, I shouldn't be rubbing my hands around in that, should I really? There is possibly still some glass in there, so we'll stop doing that and we'll just get some bark. When we get to next year's repotting time of year, I'm going to put some big bark in for crocking, in the base. I've still got plenty of that, but this is my medium stroke large bark, and come repotting time next year that's going to go down quite quickly, but I have got an absolute stash of smaller bark, and often they'd be mixed together anyway, so right, about there. So it's now just a matter of filling the gaps in, and I'm going to lower this bark in a bit at a time so that I can see that it goes in all the gaps before I put any more in on top. So I'm watching what I'm doing as I go. Come around the other side. I haven't got rid of the mealy bugs yet. That's a job to do when I've finished this repotting. It down into the gaps. The tapping is, when you're working with this size bark and these big chunky roots, tapping the side of the pot is absolutely brilliant. It really does the job. It really gets the bark down into all the crevices. Right. Now, the plant is trying to lift the root system out. So down this side of the plant, I am going to press down and firm those roots. And then hopefully that will secure the plant in this position. It's still trying to tip. It's the weight of the plant basically, so I think probably the best thing to do is to put a stake up against the plant, holding it in place, and then after a while, well, that's not going to work, it's got no point on it, I'll just carve a point on it. There we go, that's better. The idea is to hold the plant upright, and once the roots are established and new roots come out, it will then stay in that position. But that will stop it falling over. It should do anyway. Let's have a look around the pot. Yeah, we've got some air. That's fine. It's a Phalaenopsis. Air around the roots is required. And it's strange, you find that if you've got some air gaps in your pot, you will often find that's exactly what the roots head for, the air gap, rather than getting all nicely tucked away in the media, they head for the gaps. Right, so that's all it's going to get. And what we're going to do now is get some rubbing alcohol, get that out of the way, something to put it in. Only need a tiny drop, only need enough to wet the end of the cotton wool buds. And then we will get down into the leaf joints, the ones I can get at. It's mainly at the base of this new leaf here. Oops, got a bit of bark stuck in there, we'll get that out. 'Cause that would, if you get bark stuck in a leaf joint, then when you water, if you get water on that leaf joint, you get that bit of bark wet, and then that will stay wet for some considerable time. Doesn't do the plant any good at all. Right, I think I've got them all. No, I haven't. There's still some around there. Just have to keep my eye on this. It's funny, I don't believe I've got any mealybugs in the grow room. They're in the kitchen. They're on the Phalaenopsis. They're a flipping nuisance. Then it's not an outbreak, it's not gone mad or anything like that, but there are some. Right, so that's dealt with them, hopefully. Just checking leaf edges. Check underneath the leaves. They will sit near the very tip of a leaf there on the underside, almost invisible on Phalaenopsis because they've often got like a hook on the end and they get in under there, and then you miss them. You've looked all over your plant and you missed them. So a good look, and I think we're okay now. Right, so this plant is not as upright as I want. In fact, I'm going to move it. I'm going to make it more upright, like that. That's better. And then, as I said, hopefully it's just so heavy. It's moving the stake in the pot. There's not enough security here, and I don't know how else to do it. Apart from it's because a lot of it is because it's a shallow pot. Try going in at an angle. That's a bit better. And I've got my rock. Those of you that have saw this in the kitchen, when I filmed actually in the kitchen, this used to be over at an angle with a rock sitting on top to stop it tipping. Well, I've still got the rock, and there's plenty of room for that rock to go this side of the plant to stop it tipping, so the rock can sit on the top. So we'll give that a water, because virtually all of the old bark came out. So although this was watered, was it yesterday or the day before? Recently, and that bark would have been wet, as you can see here, it's wet. The roots are now going to dry incredibly fast because they're up against dry media. So I will actually water this, and probably in a day it will be bone dry again because it's new bark. So hopefully we will get some root growth, and the plant will progress. It'll probably stall a little bit for a while, having had the root disturbance, but it hasn't had a major root change. It was in bark, it's still in bark, so hopefully it will not go into shock from the change of media. That can happen with orchids. Switching from moss to bark in one go, you will often get a stall where the plant just stops growing for a while, and doing it the other way round sometimes. Less often going from bark to moss, because you've got the moisture. It's the new bark that dries incredibly fast that you've got to keep on top of. Right, so there we go, another job done, and no damage, we're not leaking anywhere, we haven't got any holes, and we do have a little bit more mess. So the bag that I put that stuff in out of the glass bowl, I'll put this in there as well, just in case. This is probably okay, but just in case, it can go in that bag and go in the dustbin with the rest of it into the landfill along with that. They're not recyclable, that's for sure. But I do get the recyclable ones of these now. These used to come as plastic, one-use plastic, whereas now it's some sort of card, I think. But it's recyclable now, whereas it never used to be. So that's good, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by. We look forward to the next spike coming on here, because it's a very strong plant, this one. Hopefully this new leaf will progress. I hope I haven't damaged that too much. It got bent, yeah, in lifting it out. So hopefully it hasn't been damaged, but we shall see. Time will tell. Back in the kitchen. See you next time.